Deep Threat Sports Network. It's Friday. We're back at it again with you guys. We're going to give you guys some quality content. That it's not as crazy as last weekend, but there's some good games going on this weekend. One of them could arguably be, one of the games of the year if it pans out as it's supposed to. But we're going to talk about a couple games. We're going to talk about a couple teams. Well, we're going to talk about one game. Real quickly, it's going to be Auburn, Missouri. We got to represent. Oh, wrong side over here. We got to represent Mizzou. But again, we're going to hit you with all the games, and then we're going to hit you with the book it segment. We know you guys love that. You guys trying to make some money. And if you guys didn't already see, if y'all followed us last week, y'all made some money. Y'all secured the bag. But I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown of who we're going to cover. We're going to cover Miami at Louisville, Nebraska and Indiana, Alabama at Tennessee, Michigan at Illinois, Georgia at Texas, and again, Auburn at Missouri. So it's going to be good stuff, quality content. Again, it's me and Collin. Bryant is out still today, but we will see him on the next episode, and that's going to be our review. So that's going to be good. We're going to have him kind of lead that one, take over. But, Collin, what do you got for us?
Man, Dave, I'm just looking really forward to another great week of college football. This season has been spectacular. Tons of parity. I feel like every time we come back and review these games, we're just blown away every single week. Some of these games surprise us. Some of these games that probably aren't even on our docket tonight probably will end up being talked about next week just because that's the way things are shaping up. I mean, we're not even going to talk about the LSU-Arkansas game, and that's going to be a great game as well. We could probably be talking about that come next week. So many good college football games. So much to get to. Dave, we love Saturdays. We cannot wait. But, hey, man, you talked about it. We made some money last week. The overall season is looking great. We look really great as a unit right now. We just need to keep trending in the right direction, keep supporting us, and we're going to keep giving you guys all the quality content that we can get. But, Dave, I'm ready to dive in. Let's get into this thing, baby. Let's go.
Hey, right off the bat, Miami at Louisville, 11 a.m., bright and early. You guys make sure you get your coffee early before the game starts through ABC. Man, what a matchup this is going to be. I mean, Miami and Cam Moore are coming off. They're undefeated. But let's talk about it. They had a couple close games. That one they should have lost, But at the same time, you got Cam Ward. He's making a big case for him at the Heisman position. And I think this is one of those games where he's got to show it. He's got to show that he is that Heisman guy because I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Both offenses are going to be looking to throw the rock. I think it's just going to be a sling fest. Especially, even on the Louisville side. I know a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, Miami's going to win this. But Louisville's got some stuff going for them. They got Ja'Cory Brooks, Collin Lacey. They're going to be a problem for this University of Miami defense. And then also, let's not to mention, yes, Louisville does have 2 losses, but they're against a pretty good SMU team and a pretty good Notre Dame team now that it seems like they got things figured out. So don't be surprised if this game is a lot closer than you guys expect. Collin, who do you got? Do you think Miami's just going to run with this one? Where's this going to go?
Yeah, Dave, you talked about it. This is going to be a big test for Miami. This is going to be a big test for Cam Ward. This is a big statement game for Cam Ward, the hardest remaining game on their schedule. So Cam Ward needs to make a statement in this one. They really have the advantage offensively and defensively. Miami averages 47.7 points per game, number 1 in the country, throwing for 400 yards per game. We've talked here many a times about Xavier Restrepo, especially before the season. He's averaging 18.3 yards per catch on 32 receptions this season, Dave. This guy is as good as it gets. He's also got complementary pieces in Isaiah Horton and Jacoby George, who are fantastic options for Cam Ward to get out of pocket if the play falls apart and find down the field. They really have it all offensively, Dave. And let's not talk about Louisville's offense. Tyler Shuck's a very good quarterback himself. He's looked very good this season. Louisville's a very reliable team. We've talked many a times how we love Louisville's coach, how everything for Louisville has been trending in the right direction since last season. They're also averaging 36.2 points per game, and Tyler Shuck has thrown for over 1,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. So he really takes care of the ball pretty good. We sit here and look at this, and both defenses also they're allowing under 20 points per game. But Louisville is going to have to get off the field on third downs defensively because Miami is a very efficient third down offense. And I think that's what could probably wear Louisville down throughout the game. I mean, you go 4 quarters with Miami, we've seen it. A lot of these teams have looked like they're going to win the game or have been in the game late, and Miami just continues to press, continues to lean on them, continues to trust the process, and they end up winning the football game, Dave. Where Louisville's also going to have some trouble too is they really struggle in pass protection. Their pass coverage, according to PFF, is ranked 70.4, and put that in perspective, Miami grades in the low 90s. So this is not a good pass defense for Louisville, and I really think Cam Ward can pick them apart. Throws 10 yards plus down the field. Louisville is the 5th worst in the Power 4 conference. Let me back this up with Cam Ward ranks 3rd in the country and throws 10 yards plus down the field. So that is not a good recipe for success for Louisville. They are going to have to make big changes in this one. They are really going to have to show up and show out, protect home field. I think that does help them in this football game. But, man, that's really all I'm going to hang my hat on here for Louisville. I really do think Miami can come in and take care of business. We got 2 transferred defensive linemen for the Hurricanes that are game wreckers. We got Tyler Barron from Tennessee and Simeon Barrow from Michigan State, and these guys combined have 8.5 sacks. So they're going to get after Tyler Shuck all night. Louisville's run game is not that great to take pressure off of him. I mean, it's just not a good recipe for Miami in this football game, Dave. I just don't know how else to explain it. I mean, Louisville does have a bright spot in Ja'Cory Brooks at the receiver position. He transferred in from Alabama. He's averaging nearly 100 yards per game. But Miami can take him out of the equation. I mean, that's really all that Miami has to be on the lookout for, in my opinion. I mean, I know they have Collin Lacey, and I know he's pretty good too. Been banged up quite a bit. But, man, Dave, I just think Miami really takes care of business in this one.
I agree. I don't. My thing is when I compare offenses, because that's what it's really going to come down to: who's going to score more. And I think it's going to be Miami because Miami is just a better offensive team, and Louisville's also a lot worse of a defensive team. So I agree. I think Miami, they're not going to run with it. You know, they're not going to win by 3 or 4 scores, but they're going to win this one.
I mean, Cam Ward is legit, man. I mean, I know he's kind of had his ups and downs throughout some of the games, sometimes doing some, dumb shit that you kind of raise your eyebrows at. But when it really come to shove and gets down to it, Cam Ward takes care of the ball, takes care of business, know what he has to get done. And I feel like one thing I like about Cam Ward, too, is you never see him get too high, get too low. He's pretty even keel throughout the whole entire game. You never see him really let the pressure get to him. The opposing environments, they kind of have had some slow starts, but he stays pretty lax, man. And like I've said 1,000 times, I love Xavier Restrepo. I want more out of Damian Martinez. We talked about him before the season started. Great running back for Miami, but let's get some more out of him this game. Really be a force, show that you're a force throughout the playoffs, and kind of intimidate some of these teams that are kind of, up and down right now. The Alabamas of the world, the Georgias of the world, these teams that do have some losses on the resume that look to be Miami's biggest contenders down the stretch. Show Clemson that you're for real, even though you don't play them. Just go out there and take care of business. Do what you are supposed to do. And let's not forget, Miami's coming off a bye. So they've had some time to prep for this football game, time to get a little more healthy, a little less banged up, got some injuries taken care of. Miami in this football game, Dave. That's all I got.
Colin, speaking of buys, again, I'm going to ask this because one, I've never played football, nor have I coached or anything to that extent. How much of a difference does a buy really make? Is it really that big of a game changer, or is it just, hey, you got 2 weeks between your first and your last game or your next game?
It's so easy just to say, oh yeah, buys are huge. Buys help a ton, and I think they do, and obviously for the obvious reasons. I mean, injuries, more time to prep, watch film, things in that nature that most people are probably already thinking about. But on the flip side of that, if your team is running hot and you have tons of momentum, I feel like there's some times where teams probably would damn near give up that bye and push it back to a different time because they have all the momentum in the world. So I think the easy answer is yes, buys are huge. And I think when it comes to the game of football, where it's so physical and so much contact, and most of these guys are playing through some injuries, bruised ribs, strained hammies, all that stuff. Yes, it is huge for them, especially if your team's banged up. You want that bye. For the most part, I think buys are very, very beneficial.
Whew. All right. Well, next game I want to talk about is Nebraska and Indiana. This is going to be another early one, 11 a.m. through Fox. So if you like Nebraska, you like Indiana, or you like college football, period, wake up early on Saturday. This is going to be a good. I'm excited for this one, Collin. Truthfully, I'm just excited to see that quarterback battle. That's going to be a big one. Curtis Rourke, I mean, he's putting up the numbers. I mean, he's almost 74% completion. Like, the guy is he's just solid. You know, he's not making mistakes. He's not doing too much. He's not doing too little. He's just solid all the way around.
There's a reason he's on my Heisman list, Dave. There is a reason he is on my Heisman list.
Hey, and here's the thing. This is his time to show if he's a Heisman player or not. If Nebraska comes to Indiana and he just caves, he's not a Heisman guy. You know, we've talked about it enough about Heisman guys. Heisman guys are guys who are going to play those hard games and they're going to rise above. They're not going to just kind of meander like kind of halfway. They're going to rise to the top and they're going to be the guys that pull this game out. But again, then you got Dylan Raiola, which also has to prove himself. I think this is just a game of both of them trying to prove themselves because, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, Dylan Raiola is not as good as everyone thought he was. He's not that, like, wonder kid. And granted, he's still averaging about 226 passing yards per game. So it is pretty good, but he has had some very true freshman-like mistakes.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's to be expected. But at the same time, he's also made some mistakes that you wouldn't make as a quarterback, period.
Well, those are just growing pains, you know, and we kind of talked about that before the season started. That expect with Dylan Raiola, there will be growing pains. I mean, he is a true freshman coming in and playing in the Big Ten Conference. This is big boy football, and I mean, for the most part, he's done a fantastic job, Dave. But yeah, what you're talking about is absolutely correct. This is Curtis Rourke, Dylan Raiola, and I am extremely pumped for this one. I hope this game doesn't fly under the radar for most people. This is an awesome game. I mean, Curtis Rourke, who, like I previously mentioned, I think he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten, especially right now, and he has tons to prove, exactly like you talked about. Because Nebraska defense is pretty stout, man. They're allowing under 12 points per game, and Indiana's offense is scoring over 47 points per game. Indiana's schedule has been a little light, so this is definitely going to be their hardest test. And I think that's where you will see people probably start to get on board with Indiana. You'll probably see them fly up the ranks. Not that Nebraska is a top 10 team by any stretch, but if they can prove it against a true Big Ten opponent who has played some good football and then they can go to 7-0, that's when you're going to see people start to buy in. And that's what I was talking about on our Heisman episode. They go in and win this football game, you're going to see Curtis Rourke start catching more steam. You're going to see Indiana start catching more steam. And if they win the games like this that are the bigger games on their schedule, that is how they build this resume. That is how they become for real. That is how they become a ferocious opponent for these other teams, and they sort of take them for real. You know, Indiana can also pound the rock on the ground a little bit. I mean, Ellison's averaging 6.4 yards per carry, and Lawton's averaging 4.8 yards per carry. So, I mean, these are two guys that should be able to take a little bit of pressure off of Curtis Rourke in this one. I know, like I said, Nebraska's defense is pretty stout. But let's talk about Nebraska offense a little bit. Dylan Raiola doesn't really have a consistent hookup on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, his best options are Isaiah Nayar and Jamal Banks, but they're both under 300 receiving yards this season, Dave. I mean, neither one of these guys have gone past the 300 mark so far this season, and that's not great, especially because Nebraska's run game is not that great. Indiana's defense has played pretty good. Yes, like I just said, I know they've played lesser opponents, but still, they're averaging giving up less than 15 points per game. That's incredible. That is extremely, extremely good. I think Nebraska's defense can make it tough on Rourke if Tommy Hill is back and healthy in this football game, and Malcolm Hartzog, who is a really reliable corner at the secondary position on the defensive side of the ball for Nebraska, they can give Curtis Rourke fits, especially if they can generate some pressure. I think whichever team generates the most consistent pressure is going to end up coming out on top in this football game, make the other quarterback uncomfortable. Indiana is lethal in the run-pass option attack. That is where I think they shine in this football game. Elijah Sarrett and Omar Cooper Jr., both over 300 yards this season so far, are way better options for Curtis Rourke to hook up with than what Dylan Raiola has to offer, especially in that RPO passing attack. I mean, that is where Indiana is going to make money in this game. That's their bread and butter, and I think that's where Indiana gets the job done. I'll be the first to tell you here, the spread's sitting around 6.5, 7.5. I don't love that, but I do think Indiana comes out on top.
Collin, you know what the crazy thing is of just to think Indiana, beating Nebraska. They had 27 transfers this year. 27 transfers. And of those 27, dude, 14 are starters. Like 14 are starters, and clearly they're doing well when they're 6-0 at this point. So over half of your transfers that you bring in are crushing it and are starting for you. Hey,
Yeah.
Dabo Sweeney, take some notes, buddy. There's
I
like
mean, totally agree. I mean, Dabo's out to prove a point now with the guys he's got, and it's kind of working right now. But man, Kurt Signetti, we've talked about him here before. Indiana's coach, first year there. You see online that he sends a mass text out to all students on campus for home games and says, "Hey, don't worry about class, don't worry about your homework. Come out and support this football team. We're for real. Let's get it going." And to talk about the transfers a little bit, Dave, I think the transfer aspect is more of a liability, obviously, early on in the season. I think at this point in time, when you're 6-0 and you've played 6 games and you got some continuity at this point, and you're starting to see how each other play, you're starting to see, what the weaknesses and strengths are of your teammates around you. I think at this point you could kind of write off the transfer stuff a little bit. But I mean, this is their biggest game, so maybe you can see a little bit of frustration with some of these new guys coming together. But I mean, Nebraska's kind of got, some transfers coming in too. Obviously, first year starting quarterback Dylan Raiola, like we talked about. So I mean, you have that on both sides of the ball here for both these teams. I love Kurt Signetti. I love Matt Rule, the coach of Nebraska as well. This is just going to be an awesome, awesome football game. And like I said, I want people to tune into this game. And I think it's going to be a little overlooked because they're just like, it's another Indiana-Nebraska football game. These teams haven't been great recently. So we're just, they're not the name brands. They're not the big brands that you see on all the commercials. But tune into this football game. You got two hungry teams that have a lot to play for here.
hey, I Nebraska just has to get a win here, man. I mean, they've lost 25 consecutive games to top 25 teams. That's terrible. 25 consecutive games. You cannot beat anybody that's good or okay. Because let's be real, at 25, you're not great, but you're good.
It's almost times when I see stats like that it almost just scares me even more for Indiana, Like at some point, this has to snap, and I don't want to be on the wrong side of that snap. I mean, and Matt Rule is a coach that can really get it done too.
Woo, but speaking of coaches that can get it done, let's talk about this next game that we got. Probably the one that everyone's going to be tuned in to at this time. Maybe the next one we're going to talk about, but Alabama at Tennessee. This is going to be at 2:30 p.m. through ABC. I think this is going to be a good game. I really do. I think Alabama is a superior program, but I think Tennessee is just trying to prove a point here. They're trying to show that they are, as good as people made them out to be at the beginning, but Bama's offense is just good, man. But then at the same time, Tennessee's defense is like, that's a good matchup. Like, I just want to watch that. Just let me watch that all for 3 hours, But at the same time, Tennessee's got the seventh best rushing attack in the country. That's pretty darn good when you're going into Bama, especially because, Bama had a close game against South Carolina, and that was after their loss to Vandy, So they're yes, they got.
They're kind of reeling. They're reeling right now, Dave.
Exactly. And then not to mention, man, Tennessee is second in the nation in third down stops. So that's going to make it difficult for Jalen Milroe and the rest of this Alabama offense. But on the other side, we've got Tennessee and Nico. Nico, man, I really don't want to give up on him, but I just don't think he's that good at this point. And yes, he is a freshman. I get that. But let's look at other freshmen that are crushing it, So for me, the whole freshman thing, yes, 1 or 2 games, I get it. But after that, man, we're 7 games in. You've got to be able to secure the bag.
Well, that kind of goes hand in hand with the transfer thing I'm talking about. Obviously, there's still going to be some growing pains. I think he is a redshirt freshman. He sat last year behind Joe Milton. Kind of saw how it develops a little bit, how it flows with Josh Heupel as the coach. So, there's going to be mistakes and there's going to be some growing pains. And like we talked about here before with Nico, the sky was the limit for him. The hype was real. Everybody talked him up to the highest you could get to. And I mean, when you don't live up to that, obviously there's going to be haters. There's going to be doubt. You're going to hear constantly about how Nico's not doing well. But both these teams need to settle in, Dave. Both of them. I don't think either one right now is overwhelming us at all. I mean, there's been times where we talked about it here before. Both these teams have looked like world beaters, and now both these teams are absolutely reeling, need to settle in. And I'm going to push back a little bit on you on the Alabama offense being great. I totally disagree, in all seriousness. I really do. I think the two great things about Alabama's offense is Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe's legs. I talked about that before the season started, especially early on. To beat Alabama, you have to limit their explosive plays deep because Jalen Milroe throws a great deep ball, and you have to eliminate Jalen Milroe's legs. We also talked about it here before, too, how new head coach coming in is going to have a different approach than Nick Saban. Kalen DeBoer loves to run the quarterback, so Kalen DeBoer is going to run Jalen Milroe. Michael Penix last year with Kalen DeBoer wasn't the most lethal on the ground running the football. He was just accurate as shit, so Kalen DeBoer rode that. Kalen DeBoer knows now that, hey, Alabama's greatest threat to opposing teams is to let Jalen Milroe get out of pocket, get some separation, allow the receivers to get some more time, throw it deep, and run the football with him. They are a much better rushing attack with Jalen Miller running the football than they are with Jam Miller or Justice Haynes running the football. So I really think, in my opinion, Dave, that if you can limit a couple of things against Alabama, you're going to beat Alabama. I mean, look what Vanderbilt did. They limited those things. Look what South Carolina did. They limited those things. They attacked the edges. They didn't let Milroe get out of pocket too much. They kind of held him inside, and it made things a little bit tougher for him. Now, you talked about Tennessee's offense and how they're a great rushing attack. Dylan Sampson's a stud, dude. He is a stud. He is probably, next to Ryan Williams, the best offensive player in this football game, in my opinion. And Bama's rushing defense isn't terrible. They can hold up. But I don't think either team's rushing attack really does a great job either. I also don't think neither offensive line opens up big holes for the running backs either. So, I mean, this game just has tons of interesting things about it. I think these teams are very, very similar, Dave. I really do. Tennessee's passing attack has really only been successful on offense during play action. You know, we're sitting here talking about Jalen Milroe and explosive plays, deep balls. We've watched Nico throw short, throw long, miss open receivers. Their passing attack isn't all that spectacular. They have tons of receivers, but they don't have any that are being true difference makers. And sometimes when these guys do get separation and get open, Nico just doesn't hook up with them. So, I mean, there's tons of gaps here.
The thing is, too, you know, we've talked about Alabama secondary, that they're just not great.
They're green, man. They're vulnerable.
And this is a perfect time for somebody like Nico to step up and expose this and just ride with it. And I think if he can't do that against a Alabama secondary that we already know isn't very good, when is he going to do it? I mean, like, at what point do you turn it on?
Well, I don't know if they're going to have tons and tons of time because Tennessee's offensive line sucks, in my opinion. They're awful, in my opinion. So, I mean, if Bama can generate pressure and get in Nico's face all night, it's not going to be a good time for Tennessee's offense. And they're not going to have time to take advantage of that Alabama secondary. You know, we also talked all preseason and early episodes about James Pierce Jr. on the Tennessee defensive line. Dude, take this game over for Tennessee's defense. Take it over for your team. Get in there and get in Milroe's face all night and make him uncomfortable. Flip the script. Get in there and whoop his ass. I mean, there's a reason you were on draft boards in the first round for the NFL all off season, coming into the season, early in the season. Get in there and be a game wrecker, man. Wreak havoc. Make them struggle all night. Flip the script. Get your home crowd into it. This place is going to be rocking. There's going to be 100,000 people at this football game, Dave. 100,000 people probably at this football game. It's going to be loud. Jalen Milroe has kind of shown some times where he doesn't love tough road environments. Not that they've had a real tough road environment this whole entire season, but I mean, this is going to be different. This is going to be a different environment for them this season. I know Milroe's played in big games, you know, obviously last season. I understand all of that. But I mean, this is going to be a real true test for Alabama again. I mean, they're reeling. Tennessee's reeling. And we're going to watch two teams that are struggling right now try to get right.
Collin, speaking of struggling teams, we're going to leave those guys alone. Let's talk about Michigan. Michigan's going to go over to Illinois. Illinois got it going on for them right now. They're going to play at 2:30 p.m. through CBS. This one's going to be a good one, Collin. I really think the big thing here is Michigan's just not good this year. I mean, but they're on the third. They just named their third starting quarterback, right, of the season, Jack Tuttle. And man, I looked into Jack Tuttle a little bit because I was like, who's this guy? He's got. Do you know how many rushing yards he's got on career?
I mean, Dave, I know it's not going to be good because I know Jack Tuttle hasn't played a ton, and I know he's a pass-first kind of guy. But so before we even get into that, if you were Sharon Moore in Michigan, you just watch what Purdue's offense did against Illinois, running the football with the quarterback. Would you roll Alex Orji back out there instead?
Dude, at this point, you got to try anything, dude. You got to try anything because, I mean, Jack Tuttle's got career rushing yards today is 128. You know how many Alex Orji has this year?
Oh,
148. 148. Alex Orji has, and let's not mention Jack Tuttle the fifth year. He's played 5 years.
Well, this is actually significant to your defense too on this topic because Purdue took advantage of Illinois with running the quarterback. Why name Jack Tuttle the starting quarterback the week that you're playing a team that cannot defend the run worth a shit? Illinois' defense allows 5.4 yards per carry. That's Michigan's bread and butter. Run Orji, run the wheels off of him, run Donovan Edwards, run the wheels off of him, and run the shit out of Mullins. I mean, let these guys take it over. I mean, you were a team that's wanted to run the football all last season, all this season, and now you're coming into an opponent that can't defend the run worth the hell, and now you're going to throw out your pocket passing quarterback, fifth-year guy. Blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind that this is the approach that they're going to take.
And the fact that he's a passing quarterback, let's address that. He's averaging 59.4% completion over 6 seasons, Collin. Over 6 seasons. I'm sorry.
I don't think, to his defense, I don't think he's played much though. I mean, how many games are we talking that he's played?
Yeah, Collin, but I almost feel like that's worse because every time you've stepped out there, you've done terrible.
There's some truth to that too. I mean, it's
like
it's a fair. When I say pocket passing quarterback, Dave, I didn't say he was a good one. I just said he just can't run the football.
Man, I mean, he was a third string for a reason. This is what I'm looking at. I mean,
and he was also a little banged up, but coming into the season, nobody really talked about Jack Tuttle. It was all Alex Orji. You know, and listen, Alex Orji is not good either. I'm just going to throw that out there too. It's not like we're talking about 3 good options: Davis Warren, Alex Orji, and Jack Tuttle. We're talking about 3 guys that should never be quarterbacks at the University of Michigan, especially coming off a national championship.
Collin, I've never seen a scenario where a college football program misses 3 times at quarterback. Like none of your quarterbacks are good. Like how are none of them good?
Well, and the receiving core doesn't help either. I mean, let me throw this at you. Colston Loveland leads Michigan in receiving yards. Dave, he's not even over 300. That's their leading receiver. Is under 300 receiving yards. I mean, what kind of success are we talking? That Michigan's defense and Michigan's rushing attack is the only, we've expressed this hundreds of times, is the only reason they compete and win some football games at this point. They're not winning all of them anymore. It's the only reason they win some football games at this point. But let's kind of talk about Illinois' offense a little bit. Illinois is a better team than Michigan so far this season.
For sure.
Caden Fagan is out at running back now. That's new news. He's out at running back for Illinois in this football game. So that's one less offensive threat for Illinois. That hurts them a little bit. And Dave, I don't know if Illinois can keep Luke Altmaier upright often in this football game. Their pass block rating is 64.4. That's not good. Let me follow that up with Michigan having a pass rush rated at 90.6. They can get after the passer. Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, Josiah Stewart, they're going to have a good time here, Dave. They're going to eat
Oh,
Luke Altmaier and that Illinois offensive line up, and they're going to stuff the hell out of Illinois' rushing attack.
but you know what I say do in return to that? Just as soon as he gets the ball, just throw it. Because
100%. Get the ball out quick as shit.
dude, just anywhere on the field, because Michigan's passing defense is ranked 111th in the country.
Let me preface that. Don't throw it towards Will Johnson, though. He will be a first-round cornerback. Throw it to the other side of the field, and you could have success. Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin are awesome. They are awesome receivers for Illinois. Will Johnson's probably going to step in and take one of them away because Will Johnson is a better playmaker, a better football player than Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin. So I do think he limits one of those guys, but let the other one bust open. You're exactly right. Hey, this is why the coaches get paid the big bucks, man. Draw the plays up, get these guys open, keep Luke Altmaier upright, have him have enough time to survey the field quickly and probably express all week, and in pregame meetings, look, man, this is going to be a one read and out type of deal. He's not going to have time to survey the field, get through his progressions. First read, hope he's open, have a second read on the same side of the field, and get it out to him. Kick the running back out, kick the tight end out, let him set up in the flats, dump it off. Don't let Altmaier take a ton of hits. Dave, Altmaier's only got one interception this season, so he takes care of the football. One interception this season. He takes care of the football. He takes care of the football. I truly think, too, I think you see Illinois get an interception or two in this football game, especially if they go the Jack Tuttle route. I mean, Xavier Scott has 3 picks this season for Illinois already, and I think he could probably pluck another one here. So, I mean, this is a really interesting football game. This is going to be a true test for Illinois. This is going to be a true test for Michigan, whichever side you think you fall on is the better football team. On our sports network here at DTSN, we don't have Michigan ranked, and we have Illinois ranked. I lean Illinois in this football game, and it should be interesting. It's a true test. I mean, I don't have a real edge either way here, but I think I want to lean Illinois, especially if Michigan's going to start Jack Tuttle and go against everything that they're good at. Don't overcomplicate this shit. Don't overthink it. We talked about the first 2 games, whenever Alex Orji came in about, dude, Michigan, you were making this way too complicated. Put Alex Orji in, run the shit out of him, and we've expressed for every game breakdown that we've done against Michigan, stop the run, and you beat them. Stop the run, and you beat them. Illinois' pass protection struggled really bad against Penn State, and that's why I am really, really nervous about it against Michigan, because Michigan's front 7 is better than Penn State's front 7. This is very scary for Illinois, I think. But I'm going to lean that direction. But I mean, not comfortably.
Man, I've just given up on Michigan, truthfully. Like, I just, like, I don't know, like.
They're just boring as shit to watch. They're going to take the air out of the football and just limit possessions for the opposing team. Not fun to watch. They weren't fun to watch last year when they won a national championship.
Yeah, they're not. And
No.
I was thinking about it, and dude, I only watched their first game of the season. And then I was like, I'm done. That was it. I had enough. But
I mean, I you know me, Dave. I record every football game every Saturday and go back through all these, and I truly watch them all and dive into all of them, and I take notes on every game and every team. But it's hard to watch Michigan football. I don't enjoy it.
No, but you know what we are going to enjoy this weekend? We're going to enjoy Georgia going to Texas. This is going to be at 6:30 p.m. through ABC. So put your kid to bed early if you got to. Do whatever you got to do. Be ready on your couch, on your recliner, maybe a little cold one, and watch this game. This is going to be, the biggest test for Texas, I think. And I'm going to go ahead and say it doesn't – the fact that it's their biggest test isn't that impressive as you may think, because Texas' hardest game so far against Michigan and Oklahoma, which are no longer top 25 teams. So they really haven't played anybody. And yes, Georgia has a loss, but they lost to Bama. It was just a hell of a game. And
well, dude, if Georgia eliminates about 10 minutes of the way they played in that Georgia-Bama football game, they rout Alabama in that football game.
I agree. 100%. My thing is here too, like, let's say Georgia loses. Man, with two losses like that, like, can they still get into the college football playoff?
They need Bama to be really good down the stretch. They need Bama to beat the Tennessee team this weekend. They need Bama to beat Mizzou. I mean, they need Bama to probably win out to make it look good for Georgia on the resume. That's just my quick thoughts about that.
And hey, hear me out. If Texas loses, how far down do they drop? Because you're losing to Georgia. But now you're thinking, but now you got the mindset of it's a Georgia with two losses.
It depends how bad. I mean, I hate to state the obvious and like not really have a true diagnosis of that. But if they lose to Georgia by one possession and it's a high caliber competitive football game like we're expecting, kind of like the Oregon Ohio State, I think they're still sprinkled around in the top 8 safely. You know, is my thoughts. Dude, Carson Beck's been on a tear. I mean, something happened before the Bama game that made him super uncomfortable, and something happened about halftime of that football game that Carson Beck was just like, F it. I'm going to come out here, and I'm just going to sling this shit, and I'm going to light it up. And since then, he's lit it up. And while we're talking about quarterbacks, I mean, Quinn Ewers can't play rusty. Quinn Ewers cannot be rusty in this football game. I know that they did what they had to do to beat Oklahoma, and I know they handled them well, and I know that there was really no pressure at all or any chance ever that they were going to drop that football game. But, I mean, I feel like maybe since Oklahoma's defense was good, if I was Steve Sarkisian, and I'm not Steve Sarkisian, but if I was, I think I would have maybe had Quinn Ewers do a little bit more just to try to get, more back in the flow of the game, especially against a high caliber defense like Oklahoma, semi-relatable to Georgia. And I think I would have had him do more. I know, listen, he's coming off an injury. You don't want him to get banged up again or re-aggravate something. And you don't want to show your full playbook to Georgia because you knew you were going to beat Oklahoma. But with that, I would have tried to knock off a little bit more rust, I think. I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way about that, Dave, but that's something that I've kind of thought about all week. Like, why wouldn't you try to show just a little bit more? Now, while we're talking about something like that, Georgia's defense just gave up 31 points against Mississippi State and their backup quarterback. I mean, that came out of nowhere. There was a reason Mississippi State's over-under point total last week against Georgia was like 6.5 or 9. I don't remember still if it was 6.5 or 9.5. But there's a reason it was single digits, Dave. And they came out and scored 31. That can't happen. And one thing I need to ask you too, maybe you can look this up kind of why I'm on my tangent here. Is Tate Ratledge playing in this football game for Georgia? He's the lineman Tate Ratledge. He's their best offensive lineman. And if he's not playing in this one, that's really going to make things tough for that Georgia offensive line because Anthony Hill Jr. has 5 sacks for Texas, and this Texas defensive line is stout. Stout. They're a top 2 or 3 offensive line as well in the country. We talked here how we think they're going to win the Joe Moore Award. Also, is Isaiah Bond 100% in this football game for Texas? Did you got something on Tate Ratledge?
Yeah, so he just got upgraded to questionable for this game. So I'm leaning more no because for me, I'm having been a college athlete. For me, I'm very big on like why injure a player for an extra game? And yes, at this level, there's millions of dollars, kind of involved here. But yes, playing if they got a little sprain, a little something here and there. But man, if they're questionable leading up to the game, you probably shouldn't play them because you don't play him this game. Let's say you do play him this game, and he's out for the season. How many players have we not seen go out for the season already?
Well, I almost feel like Tate Ratledge is probably trying really hard to play in this game. So they're probably trying to hold him back as coaches. But like you just kind of talked about it, Dave, if they go down with 2 losses here, that's not good. This is almost a make or break game. So, I mean, and their offensive line has struggled. So I feel like if he can go, he's probably going to go. I mean, that's just my thoughts on this. And you know, Kirby, he's using every single poster board material he can get his hands on right now. We're the underdogs. They don't believe in us. We're 5-point dogs. We're Georgia. We are Georgia. You know, get your ass out there. Let's kick the shit out of them. You know, I mean, there's just a lot of poster board material in this game. There's a lot of, you know, which coach do you want to have as your coach? These are two big time programs really kind of taking over the sport of college football, especially as you see Nick Saban kind of get out of it. I mean, and I would say most people in the country have Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian in their top 3 to 5 coaches in the country, and if they don't ever listen to anything they talk about again because they're irrelevant. Then that network that says that they're outside of that top 5 rank, stop listening to them, because these guys, in my opinion, are both top 3. And this is just a big battle. This is a big recruiting battle, Dave. I mean, this has got so many implications in this football game. This is another banger, dude. This is another one of those top games that you mark before the season starts, that at 6:30 on this date, I'm going to be ass in couch, not doing anything else but watching Texas Georgia football. I mean, will anybody else have any other game on at that time? Probably not. They're definitely going to have this one on the main channel.
Well, Colin, let me ask you: does Arch Manning play in this game? Like, let's say Quinn Ewers is not
No
playing.
way. I think there's no way.
But what if he starts, throwing bad passes? He can't make any completions. He gets an interception or two, because he already had an interception first game. And although
I'm gonna say no, I'm gonna say barring injury, he doesn't see the field. Nah, unless Quinn Ewers breaks a hip. No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. And kind of talking about that, we talked about Beck earlier. Dude, Georgia will come out here and throw the football 40 plus times. They're not afraid to go out there and just absolutely throw the shit out of the ball. I mean, that does not scare them, because neither one of these teams have a good rushing attack. I mean, this is going to be an air it out quarterback battle. Which one of these quarterbacks play better? Which one of these receiving cores play better? If Isaiah Bond's healthy, he's the best receiver in the football game. Period. Because Dominic Lovett and I'm drawing a blank here. Arian Smith, sorry, from Georgia. Neither one of those guys are a real difference make. I mean, they're good. I mean, they're good options to have. They're not going to take the top off of defense. I mean, the odds that they get behind Texas' secondary is not good. So, but I mean, to back this up, these teams are just going to throw shit out of the football. I don't think you see much rushing in this game. I mean, they'll get their carries, but I don't think you're going to look back on this game and be like, oh, damn, dude, did you see Texas's rushing attack? That's not going to happen. Oh, damn, did you see Georgia's rushing? That's not going to happen. I mean, I don't think that happens at all.
Man, truthfully, I don't care what way this game goes. I just want to see a good battle. Like, make it be a high-scoring game where you guys should just launch in the rock. And that's why people love to watch Georgia, because they're not afraid. They will throw the rock. They're not a Michigan that are going to be slow pace, very slow tempo. They're going fast. So I think it's almost even going to come to an endurance game here, like who can outlast who.
And I also think, too, man, let me ask you this, actually. Let me go this way about it. How bad, and this is like, don't state just the obvious, but how bad does Kirby Smart want this game? He's got a lot of shit going on, man. Players getting in trouble. You just pushed a quarterback the last game from the opposing team. You just gave up 31 points to Mississippi State. Your name's constantly in the headlines, and sometimes for bad things. There's people out there talking about, hey, man, you keep making these dumb mistakes. I mean, whether you're the best coach in the country or not, you may find yourself on the wrong side of the job. So, I mean, how bad do you think Kirby wants this, Dave? I mean, this has got to be the number one on his list, especially after losing to Alabama. I mean, this has got to be everything for him.
Yeah, I mean, and it is. And the reason why I say this is, when was the last time Georgia lost a game? How many games has Georgia lost in the last 5 years?
Dude, very minimal.
Lose. So, exactly, they don't lose.
Other than to Alabama, they don't really lose much.
Exactly.
If really at all.
So, they're coming out here and everyone's, saying Texas this, Texas that. They're the underdogs. Like you said, Kirby Smart's got a lot of things going on in his life right now. And the last thing he needs is another loss.
And Georgia's schedule is tough, but I mean, this is probably going to decide the SEC down the stretch. Once this thing shapes up and wraps up, you're probably going to look back and be like, that was the game right there that Texas won the SEC. That was the game right there that Georgia won the SEC. This, I think, is the game you look back on even more so than the Bama Georgia football game.
I think because, like I said it already, Texas' hardest games have been against Michigan and Oklahoma. And let's be real, both of these teams have issues at the quarterback position. So they haven't really played any good quarterbacks, and now they're coming to play Carson Beck. So their defense hasn't been tested very hard, if you ask me, because I feel like everyone's big on Texas, but like, how good are they really when you look at their schedule and like how they've performed? I don't think it's that impressive, and that's why I think Georgia should be a number one, or not Georgia, but Oregon. Oregon should be a number one.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean,
No,
I think if you see Carson Beck come into this game, Dave, and light it up, kind of like he has since the second half and on from the Bama game, Carson Beck's going to shoot his ass right back up that Heisman list, probably to the top.
yeah, hey, I'm for it. Make it happen. But I think if Texas wins this game, they're probably going to be the number one team in the country the rest of the way. Let's be real.
Yes. Unless
Nobody,
they drop, yes.
I would say, unless, and I don't think they drop moving forward after this. But no one. It don't matter if it doesn't matter if Oregon goes out there and wins every game by 60. There's no way you knock off Texas like that after knocking out Georgia like this. But hey, it's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be good. But let's go ahead and talk about another game that we like to talk about it because they're a local team, but also they're a solid program and they're still trying to prove a point. I'm going to talk about Mizzou. They got Auburn coming into Columbia, Missouri. It's going to be at 11 a.m. So early game is probably going to be hot. Well, no, the weather's pretty good out here. It's a little chilly, so they're going to have a chilly fall game. That's recipe for good stuff.
It's gonna be a chilly, sleepy morning in Columbia, baby.
Oh man, I think Mizzou has to win this game, and they have to win it big, man. I really do. Let's just talk about Auburn. They have the worst turnover margin in the country at -11.
Peyton Thorne's dog shit. I don't know how else to say. Just flying off the cuffs here, I'm going to say Peyton Thorne is probably, the third worst quarterback they played this season? Like, he's actually not good. I mean, Diego Pavia is better who they've played. Connor Wegman's better who they played. Hell, Texas A&M has two better quarterbacks than Peyton Thorne with Marcel Reed and Wegman. Thomas Castellanos from Boston College is better. I can't even tell you who Murray State – isn't that who we played game one? Yeah, I can't even tell you who Murray State's quarterback is. Buffalo's quarterback probably in a neck-and-neck race with Peyton Thorne. So, yeah, I mean, it's a statement game for Mizzou's defense. Mizzou's secondary on the defensive side needs to play a little better. They need to not get beat deep, not allow explosive plays. I know you and I earlier today kind of talked about Keandre Lambert-Smith being pretty dangerous for Auburn. Take him out of the equation, get in Peyton Thorne's face, be disruptive. Mizzou does have some injuries on that front seven and that defensive line, man. It's not looking good for them, depth and health-wise. Maybe we see that five-star stud Williams Nwaneri get in here and try to be disruptive himself. I mean, everything you read, he doesn't seem to be ready all the way just yet. But, hey, man, no better time to make a statement than right now. I mean, you have depth concerns. You have injuries along that D-line. Let's go get it. Let's go get it, man. Hey, let him get some PT so he doesn't think about transferring. I mean, let him come and take this game over. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to come in and just take it over, but let him go in there and get some reps. I mean, he was a top 5-3 player in the country for a reason, right? I mean, so this would be huge for them to go in here and protect home field, take care of business, cover this spread, stop letting people call you frauds. We went off on Mizzou a couple weeks ago because it was the worst they've looked in a long time. Dude, make a statement here. Luther Burden is a little banged up. Nate Noel's a little banged up coming into this one. Make a statement. Hopefully those guys are healthy and can play. Brady Cook, Jesus, man. Just make the routine throws. Jesus.
Listen, my note was just Brady Cook, you okay? And that's really where we're at, let's hope he can show up because, man, Mizzou has not beat Auburn since joining the SEC. Like, that's just wild to me. Since joining the SEC, they have not beat Auburn. But Mizzou does have something going for them. And I think what's really good, where Mizzou may have some problems, is that Jarquez Hunter is going to be dangerous. I think he's a good runner, and he's a good runner of the ball. He's got over 500 yards on the season, averaging about 6.8. So that's, he's moving the rock. Even if Peyton Thorne is not good, he is moving the rock. So we got to stop that run there. And I think Mizzou, yeah, I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say something, but I'm not gonna ruin it.
I mean, personally for me, Mizzou has to sell out to stop the run. They have to sell out to generate a pass rush. We've talked about it here before. You have, I have, Bryant has. We sit back and watch all these games. Mizzou has to rush more than 4 guys. Get in there and be disruptive. Any quarterback can make some throws if you allow them to have the time. So let's not allow Peyton Thorne, who is turnover prone, to have the time. Come out, get a quick start, get the fans in it, let the fans be disruptive for Peyton Thorne in this Auburn offense. And you see earlier in the week, you see this dipshit Hugh Freeze talking about how, Eli Drinkwitz does a great job with the talent that he has on that team because they don't have tons of talent. Dude, if I'm Drinkwitz and I'm a part of this team and I'm in that locker room, I'm coming out here to beat them by 40. I'm going to come out there and be like, hey, I'm going to show you who's got more talent, and we're going to run you right off this football field. And that's exactly the approach I would take. Marcus Carroll or Nate Noel pound it down their throat. Luther Burden, healthy, not healthy. Theo Weiss, Mookie Cooper. Dave, make the throws if you're Brady Cook. Make the throws. Throw over the middle. I talked about this a lot. Throw the football over the middle. That's the easiest, that's the most consistent, easiest passes you can make. Pound the middle of the field against Auburn. Don't be intimidated by them. They're not a good football team. Cover the spread. Let's move on. I don't want to come back here next week pissed off again because we looked horrible. Step up, win this SEC game. Get your name back in conversations that you could be a threat for the SEC and the playoffs. Come on with this. Let's go.
Hey, one thing we weren't pissed off about last week is our betting record. I'm gonna get into the bucket segment, but before we get there, let's talk about how we did last week. Collin, last week we crushed it on our bets. We went 6-2-2, winning week by a long shot. And our only losses were the Ohio State Oregon game. That game was just insane, but we had an under 53 there, didn't hit that one. And then also had Mississippi State, Georgia, under 55.5. Little did we know that Mississippi State was going to run all over Georgia's defense. Who would have predicted that? Hey, so pretty good overall, and 36-28 on the year. So we're positive. We're making you money. If you're making all your bets, you have made money at this point. So keep following us on that book it segment.
Dave, I'll take a 6-2-2 record every week for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. But the time has come. The time you guys are all waiting for. We're going to tell you guys where to put your money. And, hey, clearly we know what we're doing here. So, Collin, tell us what do we got? What do we got for this week?
Dave, I think we have 10 plays for you, and I can't wait to get them out here. Stay hot. When you're hot, hey, when you start getting that hot, start betting on, like, tennis and all kinds of shit, man. If you get that hot, just start throwing darts. Put it wherever. Stay up late, bet some over the seas soccer in the other countries late at night. I mean, just do whatever you can when you start getting this hot. I'm looking forward to this week. Got some really good plays for you. Let's go, baby. Let's book it.
All right. Well, first off, we've got UCLA at Rutgers. Collin, what do we have there?
I think Rutgers looks to make a statement after dropping a game, and UCLA, to me, is not a good football team. So, Dave, we're going to take Rutgers at home, -4.5. You tell the people, baby.
Book it.
Let's go. Right. Let's go. That should be 1-0. Here we go.
Duke at Florida State. Does TJ Ukulele even play anymore? What do we got?
Nah, they've moved on. Brock Glenn time. I think Duke's not that good of a football team either. Duke does seem to have a decent defense going. Florida State's defense is starting to play better. The over-under in this football game is 42.5. We're going to take the under 42.5, Dave. What do we always say? Buy the hook. Make it 43. Follow us on that. More times than not, you'll be surprised that gets you. Duke, Florida State under 42.5. Make it 43. Book it.
We're going to stay in the ACC. Miami at Louisville. What do we got, Collin? We talked about this game. There's a lot of hype. Cam Ward. How's that going to play out?
Dave, I don't think Louisville can slow Miami's offense down. I just don't think they can. So we're going to take Miami minus 4.5, Dave. Go Canes, baby. Tell the people what we're going to do.
Lock it in and book it, baby.
Hey, don't forget, buy that hook, make it 4.
Hey, buy the hook. Why in the heck not? Another game that I want to talk about. Virginia at Clemson, Collin. Dabo Swinney, take care of business.
Hey, Clemson's running hot. Clemson's looking to make a statement. We've said that many a times. We took Clemson first half last week. We're going to go ahead and take Clemson first half this week. Clemson first half, minus 11.5. Come out hot. Make a statement at home. Kick the shit out of Virginia. You can't buy the hook in this one because it's a first half bet. But trust the process. Clemson minus 11.5 first half. Book that shit, baby. Let's go.
Gamecocks are heading to the Sooners. Collin, are we buying the hook here? Tell me we're on a streak here.
Hey, we're going to buy the hook again, Dave. And we're going to buy the hook for this South Carolina football team. South Carolina +2. Make it +2. I don't think Oklahoma's worth a shit. I don't think Oklahoma can move the football in this South Carolina defense. Lenore Seller, come on, man. Do your thing. Find some open receivers. Generate it with your legs. South Carolina's +1.5, but buy the hook. Make it 2. South Carolina +2. Book it.
Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. Does Georgia Tech have a chance?
We talked here earlier in this show, not this show, but earlier on our network on this show, that Notre Dame's kind of got some offensive line issues. Notre Dame just lost Benjamin Morrison, their star-studded cornerback. This is a big if. Hear me on this. If Haynes King plays in this football game for Georgia Tech, we are taking Georgia Tech +12, and you can book it. If Haynes King does not play in this football game for Georgia Tech, abort mission, call an audible, call it off. Don't go across the river and lock this one in at the sports book, because if he's not playing, Notre Dame probably gets it done and can probably get it done in a big way. If Haynes King plays, Georgia Tech +12, book it.
LSU at Arkansas. What does that look like?
This is going to be a doozy, Dave. This is going to be a doozy. Arkansas's got some injury concerns at the quarterback position. Taylor Green might be a little banged up still. LSU's humming on offense. Arkansas's looked above average and above what we thought they would be this season. Arkansas's also not an easy place to play, and they'll get up for this LSU team coming into town. I don't think that shit matters, Dave. LSU -2.5. Buy the hook. Make it -2. LSU -2. Book it.
Man, the next one's going to be Texas A&M showing up at Mississippi State. Clearly, Mississippi State can score some points.
No.
A&M can move the rock. What? Hey, what's that going to look like?
Mississippi State's not going to score many points in this football game, Dave. Period. They sold it all out last week. Still came up on the upside down of it. They're on quit watch, in my opinion. Texas A&M going into Mississippi State. Silence the cowbells at Mississippi State early. A&M -15. You can book that shit all night long. Texas A&M, let's go.
Georgia at Texas, Collin. What is this, over 100? I'm hoping this is like a 40-45 game, 46-47. I don't care. Just give me a lot of touchdowns.
To the moon. Georgia at Texas. Anytime these big games are being played these days, offenses are better than defenses the way it looks in this era of football. Georgia, Texas, over 55.5. This isn't a whale play like we told you in the Georgia-Bama game. This isn't a bet your mortgage play like we said in that one. Very, very confident in this one. Georgia at Texas. Lock it up. Book it. Let's go, baby. Hope for a shootout. Let's watch a shootout.
Hey, that's what I want. That's what I want my 6:30 Saturday afternoon to go how. Kansas State at West Virginia, Collin. Is Kansas State legit?
Yeah, Yeah, Dave, they're legit. We've told you here many a times we think they're legit. We love Avery Johnson. We love Avery Johnson on this network. K-State at West Virginia. We've said it a few times. West Virginia can be a tricky place to play, but I don't think they match up well with Kansas State. Kansas State -3. Book it.
Man, hey, that sounds like some winning bets. That sounds like some good money. So, hey, follow us again. Make some money. If anything, just do it for the fun of it. But again,
so Dave, though, hang on here, Hot Rod. My wife's got a pick this week. She's got a one that she says that she's really confident in. Kentucky's playing at Florida. You know what my wife said? I don't need the points. Give me that Florida money line +110. My wife, Florida money line +110, and she said, book it.
Hey, maybe women and wives know what they're talking about. So hopefully it hits, Collin. Hopefully it don't lose you any money. But we'll see. We'll see.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I'll probably follow that. I'm gonna probably take the points, but I would follow that. I think I know DJ Lagway's taking this football team over. I think it can look a little different for him. And then, I'm gonna throw you a little dart here out of nowhere off the top rope. I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm not gonna say book it again, but I'm gonna go ahead and take Mizzou to cover -4 against Auburn. I'm feeling it, Dave. I'm feeling it.
Hey, man, I got the polo, but I got the Mizzou polo on today, but I don't know, man. That sounds ballsy, but hey, ride with it. Ride with it. You believe, so ride with it. But that wraps us up for our bets. That wraps us up for today's episode. Thanks for sticking with us. We know you guys like to hear our preview and see, what game should I watch? Because a lot of people don't know what to watch. Hey, worst case scenario, get you some YouTube TV. How the quads cam. It's huge. It's awesome. I just taught Collin a new trick with it. So, again, thanks for sticking with us. Again, keep liking, commenting, sharing, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube. Hey, and also, we talked about it earlier. Be on the lookout. We're going to be doing a tumbler raffle here in a little bit. So once we get those in, we'll make a post. We'll let you guys know what you need to do to win a tumbler. Hey, you get yourself a free tumbler. Can't beat that, huh? Collin, what do you got?
Hey, we're trying to spread the good word about DTSN here. I feel like we're doing all things right. We're coming at you with reliable, good content. We're winning on some bets. Dave, can't wait to give these tumblers away. Shout out to our biggest fans and supporters out there. Love how much you guys stick with us. Love the feedback. Don't forget, though, leave us a comment. Tell us what you like, don't like. Tell us if you follow us on all 10 picks. Just let us know, man. Let us know how you're doing out there. Hell, tell us about your day. We don't care. We love to hear from you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Find us on X at DT_sports_. Spotify, Deep Threat Sports. YouTube, Deep Threat Sports. Facebook, Deep Threat Sports Network. Instagram, Deep Threat Sports with a Z. TikTok, Deep Threat Sports Network. Dave, love doing this shit. Love watching college football with you and Bryant. Love always talking about the game of football with you guys. Love your guys' input. This has been a ton of fun. Hey, Dave. Until next time, buddy. Peace.